I've wanted to start a YouTube channel for a really long time, so welcome. This Monster High repaint was honestly a lot of fun and also way more challenging than I expected. So I'm excited to show you how it turned out. My name is Stacy. This is Studio Solaris. This is basically my little creative space. So grab a coffee or whatever you're drinking, get comfy, and let's jump into my process. I am a complete amateur when it comes to doll repaints, so this is all from tutorials I've been watching for years online. First, I grabbed some 100% acetone and I removed the factory paint from this doll. I think her name was Frankenstein. I'm not sure. I've had her for a really long time. During COVID, I actually used to love watching these Monster High repaints. I loved watching the process. It was so fun to me. So this is just me trying it out. I am not a professional. So I started off just washing her hair with regular Dawn dish soap. I did end up using conditioner to help me get all the knots out. Once you finish combing out the knots, you just take a bowl and some boiling water and you carefully pour the boiling water over her hair. This helps set the hair and keep it all nice and straight and smooth after conditioning. And then once I've done that, I did take her outside and I gave her a layer of Mr. Super Clear. So Mr. Super Clear is very toxic, so please do this outside. I found this paint, which was so inspiring to me, and this is the paint that I decided I wanted to be very adventurous and use on her body. So I did start with her first coat and second coat. I did not use Mr. Super Clear in between. I decided to wing it on this body repaint, except not for her face. Her face was a different type of plastic, so I did end up using a few coats with Mr. Super Clear in between just to make sure that it really stuck. I love the way that this turned out. The paint was very even and the color was exactly what I pictured it to be. I found this color shifting top coat, so I ended up using that, a few coats of that on top, which was exactly what I think it needed. I wanted her skin to look very out of this world. I wanted her to look like she wasn't from Earth. I wanted her to look like she was made out of magic and some type of ever-shifting material that was unpredictable. When it came to her face, I did experiment with some eyeshadows and blushes and just kind of played around. Again, I'm so new to this, so I did have a lot of fun. I had an idea of what I wanted her face to look like and her expression, so I ended up using watercolor pencils to kind of map out her eye shape and her face shape and her eyebrows, which was a lot of fun, very therapeutic. I did end up using Mr. Super Clear in between each layer. I did end up actually later on changing a lot about her face. So this is just kind of like my creative process. I know what to do, what not to do the next time I do it. I really give a lot of credit to these doll repainters because it was a lot different trying to draw this out on a 3D surface versus just like a canvas or a piece of paper. It was so much fun. I start to get bored sometimes as an artist, and I really loved this challenge. I wanted her armor to almost look like it was a part of her skin. I wanted her to look very stone-like. So I found these gems from Michaels and I used E6000 glue. I have read so many mixed reviews about this glue. If you have any other recommendations, please comment them below. I'm still very new to this and any constructive criticism is more than welcome. I go back and forth with her face. I just add layers as I go and then wait for them to dry while I'm moving on with the project. So bear with me, the face I do experiment a lot with. When I was little, I used to make clothes for my Barbies all the time. I had a neighbor and she was one of my best friends and her mom actually taught me how to sew. And I took those skills with me all the way into adulthood. And I really appreciate her for teaching me that. So if you want a more in-depth tutorial on how I made this leather skirt, just comment below and I can post that. But here I am just kind of giving her more of a fit, figuring out the style of where I want it to be, and then I kind of glue it into place. I painted her face in layers. So as I'm waiting for Mr. Super Clear to dry, that's when I start making other parts of her body. But here I am just kind of adding more detail. I really loved the contrast of this stark yellow in her eyes. I really wanted to portray that she was glowing from within. I wasn't sure if I wanted to add this part, but I wanted to be 100% transparent in my process because art is all about trial and error. I did actually end up completely changing her eyes later on, but here is some details that I've added in her lashes, some freckles, some highlights on the lips. But her eyes I did end up changing later. I just didn't feel like they glowed enough. I really wanted her eyes to portray that she was channeling this power from within and truly glowing in this stance in mid-battle. And so I ended up simplifying it and just really focusing on that bright yellow look. I then position her arms exactly where I want them to be for the next step, and then I just end up super gluing them in place. I just used hot glue and parchment paper in order to make her flames. I figured it was super easy, and I'm just kind of winging it, gluing them together, position them in a way that I like. And then I use E6000 glue, and I just glue them straight onto her hands. I did end up gluing a little tiara to her forehead, which I felt kind of adds to her backstory, just a small detail. I then paint the flames the same color as her eyes in order to portray that she's channeling this power that she has from within. I found these weapons from my nephew's Lego set, which were really cool, and I ended up positioning them in a way that I felt would be easy for her to be able to grab during battle. I then distressed her skirt a little bit, added a top coat, added some wear and tear, which I really felt added to her whole overall look, and I really liked the way that the skirts turned out. I also ended up adding a backup weapon to her ankle and just gluing that on and with a little strap, and I thought it was a really great final touch. This is the final product. I love the way that she turned out. She's strong, she's powerful, she's a protector of her planet, and I really enjoyed making this. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really enjoyed doing this. I hope to make many more videos for you, and thank you so much. Bye.